Hey guys, I'm Phil Town from Rule 1 Investing. Today I want to talk to you about the 7 signs that you're not ready to retire. So lots of people are trying to retire early, you guys, right? Financial independence, retire early. But this just isn't realistic for everybody. Especially with economic uncertainty like today, we're starting to see people come back from the sort of great walkout we had during COVID. If you're curious about how much you need to retire, I'd just take this retirement quiz. It's pretty cool. Just include it in the link in the description below and go take it and figure out what you might need. And now, I think first off, before we figure out where you got to go, you ought to figure out where you are. And there's some major signs that you might not be as close to getting away with retirement as you might think you are. The first sign might be that you don't have any kind of a financial plan at all, right? You don't really know. You're just kind of hoping everything is working out, which means you don't really have a baseline for the amount of money you're really going to need, especially if you're going to live a healthy life. You might live to be 90 years old or more. I'm planning on more. I'm going to try to beat out Charlie Munger, who's 97. So start by evaluating your current annual expenses, right? And adjust them for the kind of life you want in the future. Now, here's really bad news, okay? It might actually cost you more to be retired to live the life you want than you're paying right now. That could be really scary. There's articles out there you can Google, but I would not expect to be living on a great deal less money than you're spending right now. The second is you haven't decided what you want to do in retirement, right? You know you want to retire, but you don't know what you're going to do. Well, if you don't know what you're going to do, like a good friend of mine retired from Army Special Forces, man, all they're doing is cruise shipping around the world. And there are people who are just living on cruise ships. They're retired permanently and they just do cruise ships. Well, if you're going to do that, you kind of need to know you want to do that and then how much that costs. So in order to figure out that, you got to know what you're going to do, right? So very different nest egg if you travel in the world in a boat rather than just living in a little house in Sun City. Now, if you're not investing yet, this is also a sign you're not ready to retire. You haven't saved a substantial amount of money and you haven't invested in a retirement account. I'm sorry, but you're probably not in the ballpark. You're going to need to be investing money, almost every one of you, on your own in order to get retired and in order to get to that point, in order to stay retired once you get to that point. So you got to start learning how to invest, you guys. Doing this where you can just think you can stick money in a bond and hope it'll pay off is just not going to work. It didn't work for my parents. It's not going to work for you, right? So if you still have a lot of debt, that's another sign. You shouldn't retire yet. A lot of debt depends on, whether you're talking about debt in your house or whether it's, a pile of credit cards at 20%. Those can be pretty vastly different. If you're thinking about going into retirement with a bunch of credit card debt at 20%, you really got to get that straightened out first. So do whatever you got to do to get rid of that. If you're sitting on a 2% mortgage, I wouldn't be in a big hurry to get rid of that debt. I would learn to invest and then just, pay it off over time. All right, another sign is you haven't reassessed what you own in your portfolio. If you have an investment portfolio and you haven't looked at it in a while, you might find you own a whole bunch of stuff that's massively overpriced right now. The real problem with this is you go to any financial advisor, they're not going to be able to tell you whether it's overpriced or not. They're just salespeople and they don't really know one of these things or not. So you're going to learn how to do this, reassess your portfolio, figure out what things are worth, and then start to reallocate your assets. I would say very strongly right now you should be thinking seriously about getting some money in cash in order to be ready for what could be life-changing events in the market in the next year or two. Now, if work is still important to you, you probably shouldn't retire. You should probably, if you love your job, just keep cranking it. Keep doing that as long as you can. Try not to take Social Security till you're 70 and a half. You get a lot more out of it. And by the way, playing golf all day long is overrated. Trust me on this one. Doing anything all day long is overrated. You're going to want to do something that contributes. So, maybe start thinking about what you might be passionate about, and maybe you won't make quite as much as in your career, but you can still make money a long time into the quote retirement years while doing something really useful for the world. Maybe you'll really enjoy that while stashing away a little more money. And the last thing, if you're not accounting for inflation for the future, you are really not ready to retire. You guys, the inflation rate is running 8% right now, nominal. It might be running as much as 15%. That's going to cut your savings in half. At 15%, it'll cut it in half in 5 years. And what that means, I mean, even at just a 3% inflation rate, if you're going to retire 20 years from now, it's going to cost you twice as much at a 3% inflation rate. It will cost you twice as much to live in nominal dollars as it does today. So if you're living on 100 grand today, you got to figure out how to have 200,000 to live that same lifestyle. So that's pretty shocking. If you're thinking about 8% is compounding the problem, it means it cuts the value of money in half, not in 20 years, it cuts it in half in 9. And if we're going at 15%, it cuts it in half in 5. You can imagine how deep this problem is going to be. You're going to have to learn how to invest. There's no other way around it. You're not going to be able to park money someplace and have it grow at these kinds of rates. Just isn't going to happen. So, basically you have to have enough money in your account. You have to invest at a fairly high rate of return, and you're going to be able to do pretty well, I think, with retirement, but you're going to have to learn how to do it. So what do you think? Let me hear from you. Do you think you're ready to retire? Take the retirement quiz, find out, leave a comment below with your answer. I'll be sure to follow up with you, and thanks for watching. Now go play. Hey, if you enjoyed the video and you think it was valuable for teaching you more about whether you're ready to retire or not, hit the like button, share the video with your friends. If you want more content, just subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to click the button on the screen for a free gift. Thanks for watching. Now go play.